It all started with a game called Ding Dong Ditch. I was recently saved, young man, 13 years old. I had a fire for God, loved him, wanted to do anything he asked me to do. I could tell right away he was my all in all, and he brought something beautiful into my life. But I hung around this kid named Joe, a little older than I was, influential kid, had a lot of fun with Joe. But one night he asked me if I'd play a game called Ding Dong Ditch. And I was like, what's that all about? And he explained, just walk up to the door, you knock on it, and then you run across the road and you hide in the weeds and you just watch people look for you. And I was like, I don't know. But like I said, Joe was a little older than I was, had some influence, and I joined him. And sure enough, it was a blast. We had a lot of fun playing Ding Dong Ditch. Did it a lot. And what used to be a slight conviction about it went away, and it was nothing but fun from that point on. Until it got a little old, and we felt we needed to just do a little bit more to spruce it up a little bit, make it a little bit more fun. And one night, Joe brought some eggs, and we decided that, when the people opened the door, we would throw eggs at the house and see if they would chase us. And I went along with it, and we did, and sure enough, it was a lot of fun, and we started making a habit of doing that. But even after a while, that grew old, and we decided that we wanted to spruce things up a little bit more. We loved to be chased. It was just a lot of fun having the adrenaline rush of people coming after you, so we started throwing eggs at cars. And we even went to throwing small rocks at cars, just to let people chase us. The adrenaline rush. We wanted more and more, so we even did that to cop cars, just so they would come after us and chase us. Over and over we did that. That got old. After a while, we decided we could make a profit by breaking into cars and stealing loose change, cassette tapes, and knives, cigarettes, whatever we could find. We were just starting to, I was de-escalating, going from one person to another, step by step. And we did that. Got to a place where we were probably breaking into hundreds of cars, and even broke into a few houses. It's just a regular habit. And one day it came crashing to a halt. Joe and I snuck out. We were swimming in a pond at a golf course, getting the golf balls. Both Joe and I played golf as well. And just gathering up the golf balls in this pond. Plus we were just swimming around at night, maybe 1 in the morning. And on the way back, we decided, well, let's break into a couple cars just to make our trip more profitable. And it was a rural area, not many cars out there, but there's this one kind of parked right in front of a house with a screened-in porch. Well, it was the middle of the night. You couldn't tell if anyone was sitting on that porch or not, and I didn't like it. I was like, this just does not feel right. This doesn't feel like a good one to do. But there's so few cars in between the golf course and my house. We were like, well, let's just do this one anyway. So Joe was the lookout. I got in the car, slipped in there, pulled the door shut just enough to turn the dome light off. And I look over it, and there's a purse on the passenger seat. And I was instantly excited. I was like, yes, I just know there's got to be some money in this purse. And no sooner did I grab that purse, that porch light came on, and Joe was gone. I mean, he took off fast, and I jumped out of that car, started running as fast as I could, following Joe. There was a cornfield across the road Joe and I were trying to make it to, and I could hear this dude behind me screaming and cussing, just absolutely furious, fuming. You could just tell he was mad. And I thought to myself, man, if this guy gets me, I'm dead. I mean, you could tell this guy was mad. Well, anyway, I'm running across this yard, and it's still hard for me to explain, but I got so scared that I actually forgot how to run for a moment. And running, next thing you know, I forget what I'm doing. I forget how to do it, and I can't explain it. It was almost like it was meant to be, because I was fast at that time. Very few people could catch Joe or I. We were both fast runners, but just something happened to me at that moment where I literally forgot how to run. Strangest thing, but my feet tangled up, and I'm flailing my arms trying to catch my balance, but it was no use. I flopped right on that grass, and I knew the guy was coming. I'm scrambling to get back onto my feet. No sooner I get on my hands and knees, boom! Dude jumps on my back and begins to pound me. He flattened me into the grass and just started beating on me. And at the time, I wrestled a little bit, so I decided I was going to, try and use some of those maneuvers on the guy and try and get an upper hand if I could. But he was so much bigger and stronger than me at the time. He was maybe 25 years old. I was probably about 15 at that point, and he is wearing me out, just hitting me and shoving me, just beating me up really bad. And I quickly discovered that I was no match for the man, so I let my body go totally limp, kind of signal my surrender, and he stopped hitting me at that point and kind of stood over me and cussed at me a little bit more, and then grabbed me and picked me up. Well, I kept my body limp, and he's dragging me across the yard, just, my feet dragging behind, and after a while, I guess he got tired of dragging me. He's like, walk. And I ignored him. I just kept my body limp, and he screamed, I said walk. Took his fist and clenched my chest. Just pain jolted me to my feet, and I started walking at that point. Got to the door, and a petite girl about his same age opened the door, let us both into like a breezeway, and the guy shoved me across the room. I kind of stumbled and hit the wall and fell to the ground, and kind of scooshed myself into the corner, put my knees to my chest, just trying to look kind of pathetic and win some sympathy if I could. But it didn't work for him. You could tell this guy had a serious temper problem. He was just screaming and cussing over and over and over, and the young girl was just watching this whole thing. And after a while, all the commotion brought two older people down the stairs, and I believe it was the homeowners of the home. They came out. They were obviously sleeping, and the lady's like, what on earth is going on here? And the young girl was like, we caught these two guys trying to steal my car. And I thought to myself, lady, I wasn't trying to steal your car, just trying to steal your purse. But anyway, I didn't say anything, and after a while, the furious guy, he was like, he went outside. He went to look for Joe to the cornfield. So he was gone. A minute or so later, the old folks, they decided to go to the cornfield to look for Joe, which left me in this breezeway all alone with this petite girl. And after, maybe a minute or so, I got to thinking, if I'm ever going to get out of this mess, it's right now. She's about my size. If I'm ever going to fight for my freedom, now's the time to do it. So I thought about it for a little bit more. She's just kind of watching me nervously. I could tell she didn't like her task. But after a while, I could sense her nervousness. So I thought, this is my opportunity. So I jumped to my feet, and it startled her. She kind of took a step back, and I put my forearm out and she kind of reached out to grab me, and I put my forearm out and I ran towards her as hard as I could and just hit her like this, you know, and shoved her against the wall. And she flew back, hit the wall, and fell to the floor. Well, I thought, wow, you know, I'm out of here. I turned, grabbed that door, ripped it open, looked up, and you'll never guess who was looking down at me. The furious man was coming in from looking for Joe, and he looked down at me in disbelief, looked to his right, saw his girlfriend laying on the floor, looked back at me, and in an act of uncontrolled fury, that man grabbed me, threw me outside, and commenced to giving me the beating of my life. At one point, I remember him throwing me up against the car, and he must have knocked me out at some point, because the next thing I remember, I'm back in the breezeway, and I'm surrounded by all four of them, and they're kind of discussing what they should do with me. And they couldn't call the police because, you know, like I said, he was probably 25. I was 15 at the time. He was easy 1.5 times my size. And so they couldn't call the cops because the guy would have went to jail for beating up a minor for sure. So they decided they were going to call my parents. Well, I reluctantly gave them my phone number, and they went and called my parents, and I'm sitting there in that breezeway. I looked down at myself, and I had grass stains all on my clothes and on my legs and arms, bruises up and down my body. You know, I hurt, I ached, I you know, I was just beat. And after a while, I got to move around. I smelled something. I was like, oh, what is that? And I thought, oh no, what? And I got to moving around a little bit, and I could feel it. The dude literally beat the crap out of me. Literally, he beat me that bad. I guess, I don't know, you know. But anyway, that was just a marker of the severity of where I was at. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst was to come. Car pulls into the driveway, and I noticed that's not my mom's car. Well, passenger door opens and my mom gets out. And then the driver's door opens and my head went down in shame. My pastor comes out of the car. Here my dad was away in business and mom didn't want to come pick me up by herself. So she called the pastor to come, and I was humiliated. I was caught stealing, caught sneaking out. I hurt a girl, covered in bruises, and the inside of my pastor's car smelled like a barnyard because of what that dude did to me. And he's asking me, you know, who I was with, and you know why I did it and all these things, and I lied. I told him I was with a kid named David. I wanted to protect my buddy. I didn't want my buddy getting in trouble, so I made up a kid. I didn't make up a kid. There was a kid named David I just didn't like. So I said I was out with this kid David. But anyway, that night at that point was the worst night of my life. Absolute worst night of my life. And I decided at that point, I'm done. There is no way I am breaking into another car, another house. I'm done. And the irony is, you know, I got caught. Joe did not. And Joe wanted to keep doing what we used to be doing, and I said, nope, I'm done. You know, and Joe didn't want much to do with me after that. And he replaced me with a kid named John. Well, 5 years goes down the road, and I went to a store to pick up a newspaper. Wanted to see the wrestling scores, and I was 18 at this point, and Joe was about 19, I'd say. And I go to pick up a paper, and here Joe and John, they're on the front page of the paper. Front page. And here they were caught in a string of 13 church robberies. They broke into churches, stole the sound equipment, took fire extinguishers, sprayed them all throughout the sanctuaries, plugged up the upstairs bathroom sinks, let the water run, caused thousands upon thousands of dollars of flood damage. Well, they went to a park and started bragging about all this stuff they were doing, and this kid said he wanted to buy their sound equipment, so they said, okay, we'll make a deal, we'll sell it to you. Well, in the meantime, the kid went to the cops and told them what was happening, and the cops wired him up, and when they went to do the deal, as soon as the money exchanged hands, boom, they arrested Joe and John and connected them because they were doing the fire extinguishers with all of them. They were able to connect them to all those churches. But anyway, I tell that end of the story because, when Joe and I were doing what we were doing, I was a young man on fire for the Lord. I was on fire. I loved God. And I made a small compromise of just playing a game called Ding Dong Ditch. Well, that led to bigger and bigger compromises. And next thing I know, this on fire for the Lord kid is breaking into cars. Well, at that point, if Joe would ask me to break into a church, I would have told him, no way, I'm not doing that. But the way I was de-escalating, in 5 years' time, I have no place to judge Joe and John, no place at all. I can't judge them for what they did, because 5 years' time, the path I was taking, I would have joined Joe in 5 years. I bet I would have been right there with him. And the irony is, that night, I got beat and humiliated to where I said, this is not happening again. And Joe got away scot-free. Absolutely no repercussion from that whatsoever. Totally got away with it. He continued. I said, I'm done. Well, God tells us in His Word, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. And I believe that beating I took, God wasn't up there saying, oh, this is terrible for Eric. God, I believe God was saying, listen, that night was the worst night of my life. At that point, anyway, that was the worst night of my life. But at the same time, that was the best night of my life at that point. That was the best thing that could have happened to me, because there was very little that was going to change my mind on what I was doing. But it took that guy beating me 2 times and humiliation in front of my pastor and making his car smell like a barnyard. It took that to make me say no way. So I think we could take a lesson from this, that when we're going through our worst day of our life, so to speak, when we're experiencing the worst day of our life, we can trust God that He has us, that He works all things for our good. Yeah, we're probably not going to like what's happening, but is there fruit in it? Does it bring about a godly result? And if it does, hallelujah. Thank you, man, wherever you're at these days. Thank you, man, for going as far as you went. Yeah, it wasn't cool, but I say thank you, because without that, I don't know what else would have changed me at that point. It was a beautiful thing. So, anyhow, I just leave you at that we can take a painful experience and use it for godly result. So hope that blesses you.